Good morning, good people. Today is Thursday, December 26th, 2024. Here we are at Department of Career Services. I notice my mind is thinking about something over here as I'm talking here. Kind of interesting. Anyway, here we are, December 26th, 2024. It is just before 6 o'clock on this wonderful day. I haven't been outside, haven't looked outside, so I don't know what it's actually like, but it's a wonderful day that we're here. My name is Edward Bevilacqua, and here we are at Department of Career Services, where our goal is to help you on your journey through this life. Cool. And the key word is through, not in or during, but it is through this life, implying there's something on the other end. Good morning, Diana. Good morning. Good morning. How are you today? So we are here to help in 4 areas: physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. Spiritual, we mainly focus on Saturday and Sunday during what we call G School. G School. During the week, it is physical, mental, and emotional. And most of that is emotional. And what we say is, if you can't control your emotions, don't worry. Somebody else will, and they'll probably take you out of the game. So the most important thing to have is emotional control. I am good today reflexing. Reflexing? Reflexing. Yeah, just had to check that. Okay, so most of the things we do, we often look back and say, gosh, I wish I hadn't done that, or gosh, I wish I had done that. Emotional control. So that leads to the theme of today is run right at it. Run right at it. We'll get into that in a second. Again, just as part of our disclosure, this is not designed for people who are successful or saved. If you believe you are saved, cool, great, super, with you 100% supportive. This is not for you. This is for the other people that do not believe they're saved and they're not successful. You are certainly welcome here, and my suggestion would be to come as a student. I was talking to somebody about how the Jesuits do it, because the discussion was, well, I like to be around people from my church, because the people from the other churches, they're wrong. They got it wrong. They're blasphemers. They're not doing it right. And it's like, okay, cool, great. That is perfectly acceptable. Good. Boom. Hang around people from your church. Be around your people. Read your Bible. Do whatever. The history of the Jesuits, though, is going out to people who have different beliefs and learning their beliefs. Go out to people who have different beliefs. So Jesuits are not uncomfortable being around non-Jesuits, whereas a lot of Christians are still, I don't want to say still, are more interested in only being around their kind. I'm not going to go to an event where they're drinking because they're blasphemers. I got to focus on end times. And I say, cool, good, super. The good news is you believe Jesus is the Messiah. Great. And the good news is you're out there every day praying, hoping, or doing what you believe is God's plan. Super. No complaints. We're doing this other thing. So, but it comes down to emotional control. Emotional control. Run right at it. So that's more of the Jesuit thing, is run right at it, as opposed to I'm stepping back and letting this pass by me, because that's not God's will. The stuff going on out there, I'm not going to jump in the middle of the street or the stream. Okay, so our theme of today is run right at it. let's get into some advice from an 80-year-old. Advice from an 80-year-old: be modest. A lot was accomplished before you were born. Okay, cool. We've got a lot of red letter stuff today. We got 1, 2, 3. Well, let's take those out. We have 1, 2, 3. We have 3. We have Daily Stoic. Do it now. Don't put it off till later. We have Darren Hardy, who does the term run right at it, is from the Darren Hardy talk today. And then we have Jordan Peterson talking about Luciferian IQ. So that's people who are not running right at it, right? Or they, it's a thing to watch out for. What is it? Luciferian IQ is giving into the temptation of immodesty, ego, right? You have such a high IQ, you think and act that you are better than you actually are. Whereas somebody with a low IQ, they know who they are, generally. Let's see, what else? What else? I just did that with someone who tried to fool me and get me involved in some dumb stuff. Right. Control your emotions. Control your emotions. Okay, let's see what Seth Godin has to say today. He is not red letter. Taxonomy as a service. What? What the heck does that even mean? When the truck makes a delivery at the nearby True Value hardware store, Danny needs to figure out which shelf to put it on. Should the extension cord go next to the hoses? After all, they both do the same thing, one with electricity and one with water. Pause, wait for it. The purpose of putting things in order is so that others can find them. If you've been frustrated with a price list, a menu, a user interface, or a bookshelf, it's because someone didn't spend the time to understand the expected taxonomy. When we sort our stuff, we're telling people a story about our stuff, and a story about how we see the world. We don't have to like the fact that the world demands a taxonomy, but we can accept that it does. Strangers want to know what shelf to put us on. Cool, good. All right. Run right to it. Run right at it. Yeah, so Darren Hardy basically says one thing that separates winners from non-winners is non-winners procrastinate, they delay, they wait. While successful people see an opportunity and they take it, or they see something that needs to get done and they do it. They run at it, or as the Navy SEAL might say, they run into the fight, not away from the fight. And that takes discipline. Right. It takes discipline. So what is that? Where does discipline come from? Well, it comes from a state of mind or an idea, a belief, and repetition. Repetitive. So doing it over and over again. So for example, my plan through the whole year was to do the Peloton bike for 365 days, ending with the day before Christmas. And Christmas came, and I couldn't not keep writing the Peloton, which just went off. I had to do it. And I even didn't do it yesterday morning. Everything was out, but I got busy working on the book, What If? But then at about 7 o'clock, it was, nope. 7 o'clock. I had to get on it, so I did 30 minutes, and then I did another 5 cool down, and then my whole routine. So I started in the morning with stretching and yogurt, but then I stopped for the day. But at the end of the day, I went back. I did the bicycle more than usual. And so we'll see how this year plays out, because I see tremendous benefits in doing the bike every day. So repetition, repetition, repetition. You do it so much that you feel bad if you don't do it. Right. Okay. So in our book, today is day 4 of week 4. Day 4 of week 4. Bonk. This is once again practical leadership. We're talking about Ignatius of Loyola. We're talking about doing things in a practical, pragmatic manner. And why do we choose Loyola? Well, sort of like Lincoln, who came from nowhere and rose to the top, or Marcus Aurelius, who was at the top and didn't give in to temptation, or Shackleton, who was motivated by ego and envy because he wanted to be one of the great explorers, or he wanted to be the greatest explorer. So he was motivated by, I have to outdo Scott. But when the crunch time came, they rose to the occasion. Lincoln rose to the occasion. Country Bumpkin rose to the occasion. Shackleton, when it got really bad, rose to the occasion, put survival of everyone else above his ego. Marcus Aurelius maintained that standard. Ignatius started kind of as a spoiled kid, had the benefits of being from a good family, being the youngest, treated like he was special, got sent off to the court. So again, evidence that he's special. Liked doing things in the military, got away with breaking the law, so he was special. And then everything ended, bam, like that. Cannonball to the shin. Took him out of the game. And then during his recovery, processing on it, thinking, how does it look from here? How does it look from there? Realized he couldn't go back to that life. He had to make a new life. And that's the story with our people. We have to make a new life because the old life wasn't leading us in the right direction. So we need to change the old life. And Ignatius is a great example of that, because it's a guy who was able to do what he wanted and get away with it until he couldn't. And then he was forced, as Viktor Frankl says, when you can't change the circumstances, you're forced to change. We're forced to change ourselves. So he's forced to change himself, pleading, praying, scourging, whole heart, mind, and soul into repentance and request for guidance. And then one day he got it, and then he went right headlong into the fight, and whammo, the Inquisition got him. Because it was heresy. So he had to go back and start over. He had to go back to learning. So 3 stages in life: learning, earning, and yearning. Most people want to make the learning as quick as possible. They want to just jump into earning, and they don't think about yearning. So Loyola has to go back to learning Latin with little kids. And he doesn't give up. He just keeps running at it, running into it. and doesn't give up, gets that step done, goes to college because that's where you really need to go, and whammo, the system stops him again. And he goes around to here, and then that he keeps going, kind of like Diana. She just keeps going, pursuing this thing, and you just got to. So we like Loyola because he was here, he fell, he didn't quit, knew he had to change his life, pursued that change, obstacle, work through it, obstacle, work through it. And then he finally gets to a place, University of Paris, meets his first followers. They do their thing as first followers to turn him from a lone nut, which is how he was seen by the Inquisition, into a leader. And with his past background, his experience in the military of leading people, being able to keep silent, what is the strategy, what are the tactics, what's our goal, what's our objective, and brought them together and created something quite remarkable. So the point is, if Ignatius could do that, we, each of us, can do something. We don't have to create the greatest educational organization in the world. We can do something, though. And it starts from getting that I'm forced to change myself and follow this path. So with that in mind, I'm going to take one last quick look at our worksheet because that's where the experts are at. The thought of today, the Jesus commandment of today, or the Jesus thought of today is, ugh. It's from James 2:15. If a brother or sister is poorly clothed and lacking in daily food, and one of you says to them, go in peace, be warmed and filled, without giving them the things needed for the body, what good is that? So also faith by itself, if it does not have works, is dead. Faith without works is dead. I know the Protestants, some Christians hate that because no, you're trying to get into him. No, not trying to get into heaven. It's a command from Jesus, but here it's from James. It's a command to help those who need help. Ba-boom-ba. Okay, so with that, I was going to say thank you, Diana, for being here. Hope to see you here tomorrow. Thank you for the email. And with that, I'm going to say, and